a long run average is around 10%. Wine outperforms equities at around 10% per year, but it tends to have, a couple of up years, flatter years, a couple of up years, and so on. But certainly the momentum this year up almost 10% so far. We think there's a significant phase over the next 2 to 3 years of an upwards wine market.
Can I ask you about the actual investments? Because I must disclose I do have some wine investments, and what I've seen is that even the high-end range of the fine wines, that's where you see the greatest upside versus some of the more moderately priced fine wines. Is that always the case? You get better returns on some of the more expensive product, or is it just a feature of this market right now?
I think for the most part you're correct in that we're always very cautious sort of establish the difference between investment grade wines and wines on the edge of that. For example, in Bordeaux, you have around 20-25 wines which are genuinely investment grade, and we expect to deliver performance over a medium to long term. Once you get below that clear category, and similar in other regions, then there may be investment performance, but it doesn't have the same reliability.
Also just delve into the Brexit impact. There's a lot of chatter among those who do enjoy fine wine, concerned the prices are going up, they can't get the availability because of Brexit, or they think if it's not here now, it will be in coming years. Is there anything to that? Do you see a Brexit fallout for the sector?
Not really. And the reason being that I think there's a significant impact potentially over time on the lower end of the wine spectrum. With fine wine, the key thing to understand is, yes, shipment times have been a bit slower because it's a physical asset, it has to move around, and shipments have been slower. But really, the additional sort of costs involved in cross-border now, they pale into relative insignificance when you think of the price of the assets.
Matthew, I've had many conversations over the years with some of the winemakers, and they are conscious that even though the demand has been in China, not to be too dominant in terms of sending all the product in that direction, just in case there is a fallout in that market for whatever reason. We've been talking at great length on the show about what we're seeing in terms of this backlash around wealth now. Do you have concerns over coming years that the Chinese may push back against spending on luxury items, including on fine Bordeaux's?
I think the really interesting thing in the China and Asian context is that it's much more pan-Asian than people understand. There was a time in the early part of the previous decade where certainly China and a very specific type of Chinese Bordeaux consumption led to a slightly overheated market. That has fundamentally changed. The consumption is across a full range of spectrums, and we think it's balanced across Asia, and we don't think there's a near term or even longer term risk on that front that will significantly impact the market.